The knock on my door echoed through the stillness of the night, shattering the comforting quiet that wrapped around my little ranch like a warm blanket. I opened the door, and before me stood Sheriff Tom, a thick yellow envelope in his trembling hands. His face, usually composed, was drawn tight with anxiety. "Jack," he said, voice shaky, I hate to be the one to do this, but you're being sued." I squinted at him, my heart racing. "Sued? For what?" He hesitated, glancing down at the papers as if they were a live snake ready to strike. "For painting the American flag on your barn." A laugh escaped my lips, but the sheriff's somber expression quickly turned my mirth into confusion. "That's a joke, right? I don't even live in Hillside Acres. How can they sue me for a mural?" But Sheriff Tom wasn't smiling. "I wish it were. Jack." The envelope felt heavy in my hands, as if it held not just papers but a storm threatening to engulf me. This was the day my quiet life spiraled into chaos, but I had no idea how deep the plot would run or how far the Hillside Acres HOA would go to silence me. My name is Jack Lawson, a simple rancher, a widower, a veteran. I've spent my life on the 100 acres passed down from my father. Sunrises greeted me with a cup of coffee. Nights lured me with the crackle of a campfire. I had carved out a life of comfort, filled with cows, hay, and the occasional rescue horse. And I'd raise that flag proudly each morning, a symbol of resilience and courage. But now, standing in my doorway, everything I'd worked for felt liable to collapse. The idea to paint that barn was born from passion. For 3 grueling weeks, I dedicated myself to transforming that once-gnarled old facade with bold red stripes, pristine white lines, and a field of 50 stars. Each brushstroke was a reminder of pride and service, representing every man and woman who fought to keep our flag flying. I poured my soul into it, and the community rallied behind me, honking horns, waving, even leaving flowers at my gate. But others did not share my sentiment. 2 weeks after completion, I noticed black SUVs prowling the outskirts of my property. Strangers dressed like they were headed into a boardroom, surveying my barn with eyes of judgment. One day, they knocked at my gate, introducing themselves with insincerity. "We're from the Hillside Acres HOA," a man said, squinting at my barn like it was the embodiment of evil. "Your flag mural is a violation of community guideline aesthetics. It must come down." A chill of disbelief washed over me. "You can't be serious." "Policy is policy," he stated, with a smugness that fueled my anger. After they left, I felt a fleeting sense of dread, uncertainty creeping in like fog. But who were these people to dictate my choices? They could pound their fists and brandish their papers all they wanted. I wasn't under their thumb. But as days turned into weeks, their relentless harassment escalated. Suddenly, the sheriff's visit wasn't merely shocking. It became the beginning of an invasion. I dismissed a growing stack of legal threats, fines that started at $500 and climbed into thousands. I hired a lawyer, Tina Mendoza, a fierce woman who looked ready to take on a bear in a boxing ring. "They don't have a leg to stand on," she assured me. Yet that was little comfort when they unleashed a campaign to ruin my reputation. "They are saying you're a danger to community harmony," she warned, frustration bleeding through her calm demeanor. "They are painting you as a radical." I wanted to fight back, but the battle was consuming me. Neighbors I'd helped for years began to distance themselves, whispering rumors that spread like wildfire. Then came the night that brought everything to a boil. I heard Daisy, my beloved mare, screaming in a way that set my teeth on edge. I bolted from the house, flashlight in hand, heart pounding as I raced to the barn. What awaited me sent shivers crawling down my spine. Flames leapt hungrily from the sides of my barn, consuming the vibrant colors I had so carefully painted. The smoke stung my eyes, and I scrambled for the water hose, frantically spraying the fire as fear clenched at my chest. Then I heard them. Footsteps, the unmistakable sound of someone lurking just outside the light's reach. They were watching me. I fought the blaze with desperation, each flick of the hose fueled by anger instead of fear. Who dared to come on my property, to destroy my symbol of freedom? I got the fire under control, but the damage was done. My tribute was charred, blackened, unrecognizable. Standing there, I realized this wasn't about a lawsuit. This was about control, power battles that reached far deeper than my flag and my barn. I'd been pushed too far, and I wouldn't back down. The next few days were a blur of chaos. The sheriff came, taking pictures while his discomfort hung heavy in the air. "We'll look into it, Jack," he promised, but I could see the reluctance in his eyes, an unwelcome acknowledgement that the Hillside Acres HOA had grown far too powerful. As I stood behind my water tank that now bore a burn mark, I made a vow to myself. I wouldn't let them intimidate me. They couldn't take my freedom. Not now. Not ever. But lurking in those shadows was a darkness I had yet to unveil. What I didn't know was that my fight had only just begun. So, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across my land, I felt a growing fire within me, fueled by determination and a hint of trepidation. I was ready to rise against the storm, prepared for whatever wicked twist awaited me next. With flames still smoldering in my heart, I stood among the remnants of what once was a vibrant mural. The scorched barn was no longer just a structure, it was a battlefield, and I was resolved to fight. I turned my back to the wreckage, taking a deep breath to steady my racing heart, as dread began to morph into relentless determination. The HOA could threaten me, attempt to break me down, but they would not extinguish the fire I now carried within me. Days turned into an agonizing waiting game. The sheriff's investigation turned up only foggy leads, and as the world outside my ranch spun into a whirlwind of gossip and half-truths, I found myself isolated in a way I had never experienced before. My phone rang incessantly with neighbors asking about the fire, many hoping to pin responsibility on me. "Why would you risk it all for a flag?" someone asked, driving a dagger of doubt deep into my mind. It was a question I wrestled with too. How had something so simple escalated into a confrontation that threatened everything I held dear? I gathered my resolve and replayed the same mantra. Standing up for what's right is never easy. All I wanted to do was honor my father's legacy and the countless souls who fought for this country. So I returned to the barn, my silhouette against the rising sun, and began to clear debris. The fire had transformed my flag into ashes, but I still had a canvas, a sturdy foundation, and a heart full of hope. As I began patching the barn, I half expected to see a black SUV lurking in the distance, its occupants poised to deliver more threats wrapped in legal language. Instead, all I felt was isolation, a hollow echo of my former self haunting me. That's when I noticed a flicker of movement from the corner of my eye, a dark figure flitting through the tall grass bordering my property. I tensed, adrenaline surging. They were back. Clenching my tools, I moved toward the edge of the woods. The figure was now hidden in the shadows, but I could catch glimpses, a shadow darting behind a tree, a flash of denim disappearing from sight. My heart raced with both fear and a desperate need for answers. "Show yourself," I bellowed, the authority of my voice wrapped in fury. Silence swallowed me for a moment. Then I heard a whisper, soft and furtive. "You don't know what you're up against. Jack!" "Who are you?" I stepped further, but the figure melted further into the foliage. "What do you know?" "I can help you," the voice said, now fear-laced. "But you have to trust me." "Trust is earned." I shot back, but curiosity gnawed at me. I took another step closer, eyes straining against the dim light filtering through the trees. Without warning, the figure bolted, and instinctively, I gave chase. We raced through the underbrush, my breath laboured and my thoughts spiraling. "Stop!" I yelled, desperate to uncover the truth behind this interloper. "Who sent you?" Finally, the figure stumbled out into a small clearing, and I caught them, a young woman with wild hair, eyes wide like a deer caught in headlights. "I'm here to help," she gasped, brimming with urgency. "You don't understand the depths of this fight. They'll stop at nothing to make you disappear." "Why should I believe you?" I retorted, still weary and defensive, but intrigued. "What do you know? Who are they?" "I'm Emily," she urged, her voice trembling. "I used to live here before the HOA kicked us out. They've been doing this for years, silencing anyone who stands against them." A flicker of recognition ignited within me. "Are you saying they did this to your family too?" "They forced us out over lesser violations, rules they change at will, all to bolster their power. This is about control, Jack, not just rules. And you, painting that flag, it threw a spotlight on their real intentions." My mind raced, emotions colliding like thunderclouds. How do you know all this? I hear things, she whispered urgently. I've been watching them for months. They are planning something big, and you're in their way. But Before she could finish, a sudden rustling pierced through the trees, and we both froze. From the shadows emerged the unmistakable silhouette of two men, clad in black jackets and hard expressions. They approached with purpose, and I recognized a glint of something menacing in their hands. Emily raised her hands, panic flaring in her eyes. Run, Jack! They are here for you. Instinct kicked in, and I grabbed her wrist, pulling her alongside me as we bolted back into the trees. My heart raced, pounding like the hooves of the rescue horses I had saved. We weaved through the dense underbrush, the sound of footsteps hot on our heels. Where do we go? I gasped, adrenaline surging through my veins, thoughts racing for plan. The ranch wasn't just home. It was a place to stand my ground. But was it strong enough? I know a place, she panted, urging me forward. We can use the creek as cover. They won't follow. What do you know about the creek? It's hidden, but it opens up near the old bridge. I know how to get there. Her voice was firm, despite the uncertainty. We navigated the landscape, ducking behind trees and crawling under branches, hearts pounding in rhythm. The sound of pursuit faded, giving me a sliver of hope, but I knew they wouldn't give up easily. Why are they after me? I hissed, struggling to keep my breath steady as we reached the cool shade of the creek bank. They want to intimidate you into compliance, she replied, glancing back into the darkening woods. If they can scare you into submission, it makes it easier for them to take your land. They've done it before. Jack, trust me, they won't stop. A visceral rage bubbled inside me, but my fear clashed with resolve. I had lost so much already, my barn, my peace, my neighbors. I wasn't about to let them take everything I had fought for. Then we'll make them pay, I vowed, adrenaline igniting my spirit. I know ways to expose them, Emily said, urgency coating her voice. But we need to stay one step ahead. I'll show you. Just as we embraced the darkness, I caught a glimpse of movement, a shadow darting back from where we fled. They are coming. I felt the weight of imminent danger creeping closer. We turned away from the noise, stepping silently along the creek's edge. Woods close and thick and tangled around us, the flickering light of day fading into the horizon. I realized I had a choice, to embrace the fear or to rise above it. And as I took Emily's hand, the connection felt electric. We were two stray souls ready to fight against an unseen enemy. Whatever the HOA had planned, I was determined to put a stop to it, not just for my land, or the flag, but for everyone they had ever silenced. There was a fire brewing deep inside me, fueled by a purpose I wouldn't let go of. Little did I know, this was just the beginning of a war that would test me in ways I had never imagined. As we crouched by the creek, the world around us thick with tension, I could hear the distant voices of our pursuers, muffled yet menacing. Where are they? One of the men barked, clearly agitated. My heart raced, and I exchanged a quick glance with Emily. Her eyes held a mixture of fear and fierce determination. If they catch us, it's over, she whispered urgently, her breath coming in quick bursts. We can't let them intimidate us. We have to keep moving. Where's the old bridge? I asked, scanning the dense undergrowth for a path. Each rustle of the leaves sent chills down my spine. Do you think there's a way out? There's a narrow path along the creek that leads to it. We'll have to be careful. They could be lying in wait, she warned, her voice trembling slightly. I tightened my grip on her hand, the connection providing both comfort and strength. We're not giving up. Let's go. We slipped silently along the bank, keeping low. The water glinted under the lingering rays of the sun, making the shadows dance as we pushed down the path. My mind raced with questions. Who were these people? Why did they want to destroy my home? And how had Emily found herself entangled in this mess? As we approached the bridge, a decrepit structure that hummed with the weight of secrets, Emily leaned closer. You're standing up for something bigger than your barn, Jack, she said, her eyes glowing with a mix of admiration and concern. But be careful. They don't play fair. They'll use anything, anyone, to undermine you. I nodded, my resolve strengthening. I won't let them win. Suddenly, a bark of laughter broke the tense silence. It was one of our pursuers. Look at them, rats scurrying from a sinking ship. The voice pierced through the calm, causing my heart to plummet. We need to hurry. I hissed, my pulse quickening. We ducked under the bridge, where the cool air wrapped around us like a blanket. Emily crouched low, her eyes darting as she scanned the surroundings. Do you have a plan? I have to confront them, I replied, grit settling into my voice. They are counting on my fear to control me. If they see I'm not afraid, they'll attack, Emily interjected. You can't give them that satisfaction. I paused, considering her words. But if we can turn the tables, expose their intimidation tactics, maybe we can rally the community behind us. Emily's expression shifted, curiosity lighting her features. You might be onto something. We need proof, something that shows the HOA's true nature. As we settled into a plan, the laugh echoed again, closer this time. The men were gaining ground, and my heart raced. We can't discuss this here. Let's navigate upstream. It might lead us to a safer spot to hide. We crawled along the banks, the whispers of the woods enveloping us. The dimming light cast a haunting ambience, but I felt a flicker of hope. With Emily by my side, I was ready to fight back, ready to defend what mattered. As we reached a bend in the creek, the ground sloped upward, and in the fading light, I caught sight of a run-down cabin nestled amongst the trees. What about there? I pointed, my voice rising with excitement. Emily nodded, and we made our way toward the structure, keeping our movements low and cautious. As we approached, I noticed fresh footprints dusting the dirt around the door. Someone's been here recently. I bet it's one of the HOA members, Emily speculated, glancing at me. They've probably been watching you, gathering information. We need to see inside. I hesitated, my instinct screaming at me to turn back. But the urgency of our situation pushed me forward. We have to find something that can help us, if they've been using it as a base. Slowly, we creaked open the door, its rusty hinges protesting as we revealed a dark, musty room. Dust motes danced in the dim light of the sunset filtering through grimy windows. The air smelled stale, and the floorboards groaned under our weight. What do you think we'll find? I whispered. Evidence, Emily replied, scanning the scattered papers strewn across an old table. Anything that shows they're scheming. As we searched the cabin, a flicker of unease crept into my thoughts. Each creak of the floorboards echoed like a warning, but I buried it deep, focusing on the task at hand. I unrolled a crumpled sheet of paper, eyes scanning the lines frantically. It was a list of homeowners who had been targeted by the HOA, and next to some names was a disturbing note, removal. This, I breathed, they are planning to force them out. Emily peered over my shoulder, her expression hardening with a mixture of anger and resolve. We can't let this continue. They are willing to go to extreme lengths to maintain control. Suddenly, the door creaked again, sending adrenaline shooting through my veins. We froze, hearts pounding, and placed ourselves behind the wall, the shadows providing a sliver of safety. Search the place, a voice ordered, and I recognized it as one of the men from earlier. We know they're around here. Don't let them slip away. Panic surged, but I stifled my breath, fighting the urge to bolt. They were closer than I had anticipated, and we had to think fast. Look for a way out. I whispered urgently to Emily. She nodded, her eyes wide. A window! She pointed to the grimy glass behind the table, and I moved swiftly toward it, trying to calm my frantic mind. As I grabbed the edge and pushed it open, the creaking complained like the door, but I held my breath as I squeezed through. Jack! Emily hissed just as I tumbled outside and landed with a soft thud on the forest floor. I quickly turned, grabbing her hand and urging her forward. We dashed back toward the creek, hearts racing as the voices behind us grew closer, their curses echoing through the trees. They can't get away. Find them. We have to move. I urged, adrenaline pulsing through my veins. The chase intensified, but I felt a surge of purpose. Whatever secrets they were hiding, I was determined to expose them. Stay close. I urged Emily, her expression resolute despite the fear curling in the corners of her eyes. In that moment, I knew this wasn't merely a battle for my land. It was a fight for dignity, for the truth that had long been buried beneath their power plays and threats. As we weaved through the trees, my mind turned over our plan. We had to gather proof, awaken the community, stir the embers of resistance against the twisted regime of the HOA. Each step thrummed with urgency, and as we reached the narrow path leading back to the ranch, I glanced at Emily, a spark of hope igniting in my chest. We were no longer just two individuals under threat. We were part of something larger, a movement to reclaim our home and our right to live freely. And as night began to shroud the world in darkness, I felt strong, a resolve ignited, a determination that could not be silenced. If they thought they could make me disappear, they had another thing coming. This was only the beginning of our fight. As we sprinted along the narrow path, the chill of the night air hit us like a cold wave, but adrenaline kept us warm. My thoughts raced, plotting out our next move as we neared the familiar outline of my house, a beacon of hope in the darkness. We had to get inside and figure out how to share what we found. I whispered urgently to Emily, her breath coming hard beside me. If we can gather others, the HOA will have to answer for what they've done. But how do we convince them? She replied, her eyes darting around, still wary of lurking danger. We show them the truth. That's how. My mind was spinning with possibilities. If we can organize a meeting, we can present the evidence to the community. People have to see what's at stake. Just as we rounded the corner of my house, the faintest sound snaked through the night. Voices, hushed yet fervent. I froze, a million possibilities crashing into one another. Jack! They are here. Emily's eyes widened with panic. Stay down, I hissed, motioning for her to crouch behind a bush. Let's see who it is. We peered through the darkness, and my heart sank as I saw figures loitering by my front porch. A group of men in dark jackets stood gathered, their silhouettes menacing against the soft glow of the porch light. They were the HOA representatives. Some I recognized, others I had seen but never interacted with. Run, Emily urged, but curiosity pulled me closer as I stayed low, trying to catch snippets of their conversation. It's only a matter of time before we flush him out, one of them said, a sinister grin plastered on his face. Just look at what is done with that flag. It's a declaration of war against us. I felt a rush of indignation, simmering to a boil at their blatant contempt. The people will never side with you. We've got the evidence. I couldn't help but envision their faces when they saw the lists, the notes, the proof of their underhanded tactics. They don't know what's really at stake. They just see a piece of cloth. Another laughed darkly, the sound crawling on my skin. But soon enough, they'll see reason when we take back what's ours. A fire ignited within me. Take back what's ours. I muttered incredulously to Emily. What does that mean? How far are they willing to go? One way to find out. Emily responded under her breath, her determination shining through her fear. We can't let them get away with this. We have to act now. Without a second thought, I nodded. Let's sneak around to the back. We can grab some of the tools from the shed. If they think we're gone, we might have the element of surprise. As we crept stealthily around the house, I could feel the weight of the moment sharp in my senses. The shed was an ever-familiar sanctuary, filled with remnants of my past and tools that could serve a new purpose. We slid inside, the dim light of a single bulb illuminating the dust that danced through the air. I quickly grabbed a sturdy metal pipe, its cold weight grounding my resolve. Emily followed suit, wielding a heavy flashlight, both a tool and a weapon if needed. Do you think they'll still be here? I whispered, calculating our next move. If they think we've run off, they might try to search the rest of the property, she suggested, breathing heavily. But if we stay quiet. The door creaked slightly, and I turned, instinctively lowering myself. Had one of them heard us? I strained to listen, feeling time stretch as the air grew thicker. Then I heard it, a loud burst of laughter from the front. Let's check the barn next, one voice boomed. If it's hiding anywhere, it'll be there. An unsettling calm washed over me. They are splitting up. We need to set a trap. The thought struck me as a spark of genius. If we could create a diversion, we might have a chance to gather our evidence and rally support. Let's use the hay bales, Emily suggested, pointing toward the far end of the shed. If we pile them up and make some noise, it'll draw their attention. I nodded, and together we worked quickly, moving with a sense of urgency. With every bale we stacked, the plan solidified in my mind. We would create chaos and buy ourselves time to reveal the truth. Just as we finished, I heard footsteps crunching in the gravel nearing the barn. Panic surged through my veins. "They are coming! Now!" Emily shouted, and I gestured for her to follow me as we scooted toward the far end of the barn, where the shadows concealed us. I took a deep breath, my heart pounding like a war drum. With one swift motion, I struck the side of the stack of hay bales. They rumbled, the sound echoing against the darkness, creating a cascade of noise. "Hey! What's that?" One of the men called out, their footsteps rushing toward the barn. "Over there!" another voice shouted. "Go!" I urged Emily, grabbing her arm as we slipped out the backside of the barn. The sounds of chaos erupted behind us, shouts and concern from the HOA members who were disoriented by the sudden commotion. We darted toward the trees, using every ounce of energy left in our bodies to reach safety. The sound of footsteps followed closely, but we were both fueled by adrenaline and a need to expose the truth. "There!" I pointed toward the cluster of houses just a short distance away. "We have to get to town. We need help, and the others have to know what they are planning." As we ran, I could see the lights flickering on in the neighboring houses, neighbors drawn to the confusion. "People are waking up," I whispered, hope sparking within me. "Right. Let's gather them." Emily urged, her determination lighting the path ahead of us. Suddenly, out of nowhere, a figure stepped into our path, one of the men from the HOA, his eyes glinting with malice in the faint moonlight. "Look who we have here," he sneered, the corner of his lips curling up into a menacing grin. "Thought you could escape, did you?" "No." I pushed Emily behind me and stood tall, brandishing the metal pipe. "You won't intimidate me any longer. I won't let you control our lives." "Brave words," he said, stepping forward. "But you're outnumbered. You're just a little boy playing soldier." A rush of adrenaline surged through me as I gripped the pipe tightly. I may be one individual, but together we have a community behind us. I shouted, feeling the strength of my neighbors in my words, willing them to rise with me. And then, in a twist of fate, the door of my house burst open, revealing a dozen neighbors, drawn by the echoes of chaos, brandishing flashlights and tools, ready to stand with me. "Jack! Emily!" one shouted. "We heard the noise. What's happening?" "They are trying to intimidate us," I replied, hope threading through my voice. "But together, we can stop them." "He's right," another neighbor echoed, stepping forward with defiance. "We won't let them dictate our lives anymore." The HOA member staggered back, his bravado crumbling in the face of our united front. "You think you can defy us?" He spat, but he was already losing ground. "We know what you've been doing," I said, feeling emboldened. "And we will expose you." "What?" "They'll never believe you," he snarled, but it sounded hollow now. "Then let's give them proof." Emily shouted, raising the flashlight high above her head. "We have evidence of your schemes. Your intimidation ends tonight." The faces of my neighbors hardened with resolve, a surge of energy radiating through the group. The tide had turned. They were no longer afraid. With a swift motion, I pulled out the crumpled paper from a cabin and waved it in the air, containing names, plans, and the truth that had been hidden for far too long. It was our declaration, our rallying cry. "Enough of this," the HOA member shouted, scrambling for an escape. "You will regret this." But we were no longer the silent victims. We were warriors standing for each other, united and unwavering. As a member turned to flee, I shouted, "The truth will prevail." And with that, the night came alive with the support of the community. A sea of voices rang out, echoing affirmation and resolve. We had shifted the power. Behind me, Emily grabbed my arm, her eyes shining with the thrill of shared victory. "We did it, Jack. They won't get away with this." But before I could respond, a loud crash interrupted our moment. From the direction of the barn, a shadowy figure emerged, a silhouette cloaked in darkness, someone I had never expected to see. "Enough games," the figure bellowed, a voice that sent chills down my spine. My heart raced as recognition dawned. It was the last person I expected to rally behind us, the former HOA president, the one who had mysteriously vanished months ago. "Tonight, you will see what true power looks like." The figure stepped forward as the community murmured in confusion. "You've stumbled onto something you weren't meant to find. But now, the reckoning begins." In that nail-biting moment, the world shifted, reality blurring the line between the shadows of intimidation and the light of truth. And as the figure approached, I felt the weight of destiny closing in on us, all we had fought for teetering on the edge. And with one single, heart-stopping confrontation, everything I believed about community, about justice, and about the very nature of courage would unfurl before our very eyes in an unforgettable clash. The battle for our home was only just beginning, and with each pulse of adrenaline, it became clear nothing would ever be the same again.